Hello and welcome to this week's query of the week. So this week a client came to us. They provided us a balance sheet set of financial statements. The idea was their client wanted to principal shareholder wanted to retire from the company and just leave the company in full. So they came to us and said, look, we were hoping to do a share buyback, but it looks like we're limited because of company law. So when I took a look at the financial statements, I could see that the profit and loss reserves weren't sufficient to allow for the buyback or the redemption of the shares, which was preventing it. Like, he would have met all the other conditions in the Tax Act in sections 176 to 186 in relation to getting the CGT treatment in relation to share buyback. So this was the only thing that was preventing it. So I then looked at the share capital, the ordinary share capital and the share premium, and I noted that in the past there was a share for undertaking which had carried out where there was a large share premium and an ordinary share capital. So as a result, I advised them of the summary approval procedure under SAP 204. So it's section 204 of the Companies Act. Effectively, what the section 204 allows you to do is to reduce your share capital, because ordinarily under company law, section 84 prevents you from reducing your share capital unless the likes of doing a summary approval procedure under SAP 204. So I advise them of the fact, look, if you do a summary approval procedure under section 204, you can reduce your ordinary share capital, your share premium, you can dictate how much you're going to reduce it down by, and then section 117 of the Companies Act specifically makes it clear that where you reduce your share capital, that creates a distributable reserve. So that reserve was there then to allow you to have distributable reserves to do a buyback of shares, because as we all know, you can only do a buyback of shares where you have distributable reserves to do it, or where it's from a fresh issue of shares, proceeds from a fresh issue of shares. So that there in that particular case, solved the client's problem. It created distributable reserves, it allowed for the share buyback to happen. So that in itself shows how summary approval procedures can help in tax planning or succession planning in that regard. So they are key tools that can be used very well, if you know about them. So I hope you found this query useful. We're having a seminar Wednesday week on the 6th of February dealing with summary approval procedures and how they can actually help or work towards some tax planning or corporate restructuring or succession planning in that regard. So there's you have a summary approval procedure under a SAP 203 where that's for financial assistance for purchase of own shares. You might need that on certain times when you're buying shares. Directors' loans is another one. So the SAP 204, we talked about reducing your share capital. Sometimes you might want to do a transfer of an undertaking. You might have to do a summary approval procedure under SAP 204 again to permit it under company law. Likewise, if you mergers, you go through the SAP process as well, which will allow you to carry out these transactions. So summary approval procedures, they should be a key tool in your toolbox when you're trying to carry out these types of transactions in the everyday world. Thank you again.